This is Diaspora Network Television, DNT, and we're joined by our friend, a correspondent, Ken Bright from Brazil. We're hearing disturbances. We hear there is an insurrection in Brazil. Tell us about it.
So, good evening, viewers. As Mr. German has said, it's true. There's been an insurrection in the capital of Brazil, which is Brasilia. I am talking from the city of Goiânia, which is about 2 hour drive roughly from Brasilia. So, a group of protesters have invaded the three buildings that represent the government. So as we talk, Planalto, Palácio Planalto, which is where the president lives and works from. Okay, and the Chamber of Deputies also have been invaded, and also the Supreme Court has been invaded. So these buildings have some form of invasion, and as you rightly said, we are monitoring the situation to see the developments.
Okay. This thing has been building up over a period of time. When did the protests begin?
So the protest has been going on for over a month now. If I'm not mistaken, over about 40 days. This began the day after the second turn of elections, because in the first turn there was a runoff. Bolsonaro and Lula did not get the 50% mark, so there was a runoff 2 weeks after. And when Lula was declared winner, many people took to the streets in Brasilia and also in different parts of the country in front of the military camps in different states. And people have been demanding that the military actually intervenes so that Lula is not sworn in on the 1st of January. But with all these protests, it did not actually impact the swearing in. Okay. Lula was sworn in on the 1st of January.
Okay. Do you get the sense that, do you have a sense of where the support of the military is leaning, whether in Bolsonaro's side or in Lula's side?
Well, I mean, generically speaking, it will be more of Bolsonaro, because Bolsonaro himself was in the military during his tenure. He actually supported more. He was pro-military, pro-police, let's say that. But I think that as it stands right now with a new president, things will be shifting a little bit. But it's only 8 days now, so it will be a bit difficult to mitigate the situation and change this perception actually. But in the last 4 years, it's been pro-Bolsonaro military. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one would have thought that with what happened in Washington, D.C., with the Capitol being breached, and the close ties between Bolsonaro and Trump, when these protesters started, one would have thought that the military would have anticipated that it'll get to that point. Did you get the sense that they didn't care, or were there any moves to curtail the protesters?
Well, you have a very strong point there. I mean, this was something that could be curtailed, but the military did not. Actually, I think some few weeks ago, some of the generals of the country were issued a statement saying that they support people protesting. So this also energized the protesters, because some of the police, as in the federal police, were being ordered to arrest people who were invading or causing. Because what happens, actually, let me actually back up a bit. The protest started strongly by blocking of all the national roads. So there were no movements for about, I think, a week. Truck drivers stopped driving. They blocked the roads. They were burning tires and stuff like that. And so the judiciary system started issuing some fines, and then it changed a little bit to concentrate in front of the military camps. So the generals were saying that we support the people from protesting, we will not intervene, we will not stop them. So I think that the military has a little bit of could be blamed a bit in this aspect, because they could have foreseen and prevented this insurrection. Actually,
What about the police?
I would say it's the same situation as well, because the police were also, I mean, they would fulfill the law, but I guess they didn't want to be seen in a bad light, as in the against the protest.
Okay.
So their hands were a bit tied.
But the protesters, were they peaceful protesters or were they destructive?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
So
Because
it would be incumbent upon the law enforcement agencies to stop them the moment. I mean, we all understand if it's peaceful protest, fine, they have the right to do it. But when property destruction and blockage of roads come in, wouldn't that be the time that the law enforcement agencies, being the police or the military, will come in and say, hey, you can't do this?
Yes, so that should have been the case. I mean, there are peaceful protesters all over the country as well. But I mean, in this protest also, there are people with highly toxic attitudes, and the police actually, I think, arrested some people. To the best of, to my knowledge, some people are already in jail for blocking roads, and some companies also, some drivers and some truck companies have been fined heavily. But I think this did not even deter, because I mean, investigations are going on to discover who is actually behind. Maybe fueling and supporting and pumping money into the protest. So,
okay, and Bolsonaro, we know Bolsonaro lost the first election by almost 5 million votes, but neither candidate received 50%. So it went to the runoff, and the runoff result was a little closer, but still Lula won, right?
Yes.
After the result was announced, did Bolsonaro make any statement challenging the results?
So Bolsonaro did not speak for about 48 hours after the election results were declared. And then he came to give a generic statement, not really acknowledging Lula as president or the winner, and not conceding as well. He made a generic a statement pleading with the protesters at that time, blocking the roads to release the roads so that people can commute to and fro. So he did not actually concede nor make a statement to challenge. However, we saw that his party actually went to the Supreme Court to file a case of inconsistencies against the Electoral Commission, and that was also thrown out, I think, twice.
Okay. So at the time that these protests started, Bolsonaro was officially the president, even though he had lost the election.
Yes.
But based on your description, one can say that his response to the protesters was just passive. It wasn't like, hey, I want you guys to go home or go ahead. He neither fueled it nor stopped them, right?
Yes, it was passive. To some extent, it was passive. To some extent, being quiet could mean consent to, you know. So I mean, people were a bit divided in this aspect, and the reason why a lot of people actually were protesting, they thought Bolsonaro would take power and not hand over. So people had this, you know, the people who are protesting, because I'm talking about some friends of mine, people that I know here, some are doctors, some are dentists that are, oh, Bolsonaro is going to take power. I'm like, guys, the election is over. Let's go back to normalcy. And they're like, no, we have to. Lula cannot become president. I mean, so their hopes were they were led on,
Okay.
only to
All
be
right.
disappointed. Yeah,
Okay.
only to be disappointed. Yeah.
So what about the transition? How did the transition go? Was Bolsonaro an active participant in the transition, or he did not officially hand over?
So Bolsonaro did not officially hand over. He said he wouldn't participate. Actually, Bolsonaro left the country for the US, I think, 2 days before the official transition. The swearing-in ceremony happened. So Bolsonaro refused to hand the sachet to Lula. That was
So
the
who
first
did?
time in the history of Brazil.
So who did? Who handed it over to Lula?
Um, I'm not quite sure actually who did. I think Lula actually, the ceremony was not the normal ceremony, because there is
Okay.
a ramp that normally the president walks on.
Uh-huh.
And Lula did not do that this time because of fears of maybe some form of assassination attacks and stuff. So it was okay. He drove out, but it was more calculated,
But
and
he was
the
officially sworn
security.
in.
But he was sworn in, yes. So he's
Okay.
president.
And you're
Okay.
saying that in Brazil, after you're officially sworn in, there's a plaque or whatever it is that you
Yeah,
call it.
there's
Yes,
that
that's
you are
handed
given
by the outgoing president to
to the
the
new.
incoming president, and that did not
Yeah,
happen.
it did not happen, and that was the first time in the history of of this nation, actually.
Okay. And since this started, you said Bolsonaro has he issued any statements telling the people to go back? I know with the case of Trump, it took 187 minutes before he finally made a video and say, "Go back home, we love you." Has Bolsonaro done any such thing?
Well, we've not had any statement from Bolsonaro, and he's passive with this. So maybe tomorrow morning we might hear something from him.
But as
So
today, which is January 8th, those three buildings still remain breached. Is that correct?
yes, as it
Okay.
stands, yes,
What
as it
about
stands.
Lula? Lula's whereabouts? Do we know where he is?
As it stands, I think Lula was not in the building because the transition was not complete. As in the presidential palace was not totally cleaned out before the new administration would take over. So likely Lula is in a hotel in Brasilia where he's working from, and so he should be in the hotel as we speak. Yeah.
What about the Supreme Court, the court system? What are they? Any statement from there?
Mm.
The
Well,
judiciary.
okay. I have to get back to you on that
Okay.
because
Okay.
of I need to
All right.
follow
The
the thing.
legislature, because legislature too, their building is being breached, but they were
Yes.
not in the building. Were the
No.
lawmakers in the building?
No.
Okay.
No, they were not in the building. Luckily, they were not in the building. Yes.
And any of them
I am.
made any statements?
Yeah, a couple of them actually have made statements. I am now on Bolsonaro's Twitter account, and he has released some form of uh, statement here. I'm trying to. It's a long one, so I'm trying to see if
Oh,
I
it's in
can.
Portuguese or it's in English?
Yes, that's in Portuguese. Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right. That's fine. You can
I will get back to you on that.
back
Okay.
with us later.
Yes.
But
Yes.
finally, the people, Brazilians, are they in panic mode? Do people fear their safety when they go out up and about?
I would say yes and no. No, in the terms that I mean, we people are on the streets. You can go anywhere you want. Yes, because this insurrection happened today, and we don't know about tomorrow what can also happen. And uh, tempests are high right now, with both from Lula's camp and also anti-Lula, Bolsonaro's camp. So we don't know. We are not sure. But as it stands, you can go out, you can,
Okay.
travel out and stuff like that.
Finally, with what you're seeing and from where you stand, is Lula's government going to survive this?
That's a tough question. I think Lula is a smart person, and I think he's bringing his government is a coalition government. So the vice president, sorry for the I forgot the name actually. So the vice president, the actual vice president, is from a different party.
Okay.
And some of the ministers that Lula has appointed are also from different parties. The Minister of Education, the Minister of Environment Minister, and also the economic minister. They're all from different parties. So
okay.
Lula is trying to embrace a group of political parties that appear to from the center left to the left. Well, I think they might survive this, but we need to bear in mind that Lula has been booed in public many times since he became president. Even in Portugal as well, he was booed. So, I mean, this will be going on all the time when he appears in public until maybe.
Why is it that what dynamics creates the environment where a newly elected president appeared to be so unpopular, even though he got the most votes?
So about some years ago, when Lula finished his term of office the first time, a new president came from Lula's party called Dilma Rousseff. That was handpicked by Lula actually to contest, and she won. She became the first president, lady president, woman president of Brazil, and she was president for the first term, 4 years, and was re-elected the second term. In that second tenure, during 2 years of her reign, she was impeached. So there was some discoveries made about the car wash corruption, the biggest scandal in Brazil, where they discovered there was a system where money was being laundered around and siphoned out of the country. So this corruption issue actually has angered many people, and due to that, Lula was processed, and as our viewers might know, he was convicted, but then there was some political maneuvering that was able to, so to say, overthrow the case, to throw the case out for Lula to be able to stand for. And there's a law in Brazil.
So is it fair to say that the reversal of Lula's conviction is still shrouded in mystery? In other words, there was some
shrouded, hanky
behind the scene that caused that.
Yes, it was, because there's a law in Brazil that says that you need to have a clean, I would say, clean slate before you stand for president. You cannot be convicted. So since Lula was convicted, he was not supposed to stand for president. I mean, this law.
And his conviction was returned.
So.
Okay. Ken Bright from Brazil, thank you for the updates. If you have any more latest information, please
definitely
let us know. Okay.
I will do that.
All right. Thank you. This is Diaspora Network Television. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah. Stay tuned.